So when I recently went to a place, University of Parma, which is known for Parmesan cheese, where there was a gathering of people working on certain facets of computational gastronomy and some chefs who are doing quantifiable research with food and cooking. Probably many of them actually came forward and said that I don't know what am I doing here because this is a new area and I'm trying to fiddle with it. And I, as a keynote speaker, I was the only person who could go up there and say that I know exactly why I'm here, because computational gastronomy is what I've been doing for the last 10 years. So IIIT-Delhi has been the ground zero of computational gastronomy. The complex systems lab in IIIT-Delhi has been indulging on various facets of food, cooking, flavors, recipes, nutrition, health, sustainability. These are the dimensions we have been touching upon for the last 10 years. And as I said earlier, what I intend to do as someone who has been at the foundation of this area for the last 10 years is to tell you about how things have been for a while, how things have been proceeding, what's happening right now in the laboratory, and what I see will be happening going forward, including the startup, which will be presented soon after this by the research interns who have been spearheading from the lab's perspective. So let me get started by thanking IIIT Delhi, Center of Excellence in Healthcare, Infosys Center for Artificial Intelligence, who have been supporting computational endeavors in gastronomy for the last so many years happening at IIIT Delhi. Once again, a very warm welcome to the 7th edition of Computational Gastronomy. We have been having wonderful chefs, practitioners of food, food enthusiasts, those who are into policy making, as well as the technocrats and geeks who have been participating in this. But the question is, why are we at all trying to make food computable, which has been the mantra in the lab for the last so many years? Food is a complex topic. It has got variety of facets, which involves tradition, recipes that is included in that, the flavor part of it, because of which we end up liking or using certain ingredients, the nutritional values, the macros and the micros, health associations, and of course, how it affects our Mother Earth itself. All of these are facets of food, and therefore food is a complex topic. To think of it in a simplified manner and try to quantify it is rather frivolous exercise, is what some of you might think. But at the same time, I might want to impress upon you that various facets of our life have actually ended up becoming computational. None of us today uses Google Maps, physical maps. We use Google Maps to go from point A to point B. And that would not have been possible had 20 years back Google had not taken the initiative of gathering the data of spatial coordinates and using algorithms to find ways of reaching from point A to point B using shortest path algorithms. Of course, today we have the crowdsourced data of the traffic, which has been overlaid on top of it, making life easier, giving us a reasonable estimate about how soon or how far later we are going to reach from point A to point B. That was an analogy. This is true for even other domains of life, such as weather prediction, where short-term weather prediction has become reasonably successful. And in my opinion, food, while complex, is another domain which has been there, always there, and many people have thought about it, but nobody has worked on it. In fact, when I talk about computational gastronomy, one of the most frequently asked question is that, how did you think about it? How did you think of blending food, which is so complex, personal, subjective, qualitative, to make it quantitative, data driven? But at the same time, probably another person touched upon another question. He said that, how did you persevere through these 10 years keeping working on this topic? I think that's what matters more, rather than just thinking about the topic. Because I believe even around 8 to 10 years back, the time was ripe to think about food from a computational perspective. Not most people didn't do that. We did it as a lab and IIIT Delhi, and that makes us different, in my opinion. So computational gastronomy blends food with data and computing. I have used a sexy term, an attractive term called artificial intelligence, but that is just to attract you. Essentially, it means blending food with data and computing. That's what computational gastronomy tries to achieve. And while doing so, one of the key phrases that all of us we need to remember, and computer scientists in the audience know, is that garbage in, garbage out. Unless you have quality curated data, you would not be able to make any domain computable, whether it is maps or, for that matter, weather prediction or food. And therefore, collecting data on various facets of food was rather critical. And we went ahead and did that. And we have been talking about these recipes which were in only in thousands, then in hundreds of thousands, and we are now touching upon 500,000 recipes that have been collected, structured, collated in a manner that they are computable. And this is not only true for recipes, but true for the taste aspect of it, the flavor DB as it is called, the nutritional values, and other facets of food that we have been able to gather over a period of time. So today I can proudly stand here after 10 years of establishment of this domain as computational gastronomy. By the way, computational gastronomy is a term which has been created in retrospect by me, coined in retrospect, only after the field ended up becoming successful. And I was finding it tough to explain people what am I doing exactly. As an academician, it's a job for you to make a CV and to explain people what you're doing. While I was not interested in making CV, I was definitely facing a challenge of explaining people in few words, telling what you're doing. And I had to coin a word for it, which was relevant, and therefore computational gastronomy word or the key phrase came into existence. And the mission of making food computable. Like I said, in the context of other domains, we have to make every aspect of food and cooking computable. That's what we have been doing. And this is my TEDx talk, which actually dwells on this topic about computability applied in the domain of gastronomy and food. And today, proudly, I can stand here and say that 10 years after, in 2015, we began this work, roughly speaking, around that time. And 10 years after, we have made computational gastronomy a global phenomena. There were three major events. This is the fourth one. Three major events that have happened on the theme of computational gastronomy, believe it or not. The first one, as I mentioned earlier, was in University of Parma in the month of September, where gastronomers came together, including chefs and the people working in the area of computation, trying to understand different facets of computational gastronomy. The second one was by Association in Computing Machinery, ACM, Multimedia, held in Ireland. That's where another meeting happened on computational gastronomy. Again, I was there as a keynote speaker. And the third one was IEEE International Conference on Data Mining, happened in Washington, D.C., where again I was there to represent our work and talk about as somebody who is globally leading this endeavor of computational gastronomy. So it's a wonderful occasion to be standing here and talking about computational gastronomy in IIIT Delhi. And all of you who have been working, some of you are research interns, some of you are visitors, and some of you have known about this topic for a while, should feel happy and proud that this research has grown in India and has become globally accepted today after 10 years. Having said that, thank you. Having said that, this whole endeavor started roughly 10 years back. I would like to give a very quick flashback when we started looking at data of Indian recipes, which is what we wanted to investigate from a food pairing perspective. And this is where we hit upon the database of Tarla Dalal, which many of you would know about. An industrious lady who collected and created cookbooks on Indian recipes. And we had, believe it or not, only 2,543 recipes, which we thought is a big number. And many people who looked at our research thought it's a big number because they believed we cooked all of them. We didn't. We were relying on the data which was cooked and practiced every day across the Indian kitchens. And we were, of course, doing the data crunching around this data that had meticulously put together by this lady, Tarla Dalal. And having got this data from various cuisines across the length and the breadth of the country, we broke it down, each recipe, into its ingredients, further their flavor molecules, and did something called food pairing analysis to come up with culinary fingerprints, characteristic patterns which are idiosyncratic of each cuisine is something that we figured out, and we found that these are the patterns which distinguish one cuisine versus the other. And that was the work which kicked off this whole area called computational gastronomy way back in 2015 when I was yet to join, but soon after that I had joined IIIT Delhi, and that was the spark, I would say, of this work. One of the conclusions that we came up with from this research was that, among other things, one of them is Indian cuisine is unique, which is of course understandable, but it is unique by virtue of the way it uses spices, which by the way is again intuitional for many of us, including chefs, that the placement of spices makes Indian cuisine unique, but we showed it quantitatively. This is when our lucky mascot, Chef Manjit Singh Gill, who is right now in USA and therefore could not come today, called me and said that thank you, Dr. Bagler, for showing something which in a quantitative manner, which we knew intuitionally. And that was a fantastic moment for me to come across with a practitioner who was appreciating something which was done through curiosity-driven research in my lab. That actually led to an article by none other than MIT Technology Review, which talked about this research as an emerging technology, which I myself felt surprising at that point of time. Nonetheless, that is how it was described by MIT Tech Review. And very soon, a floodgates opened. Exactly 10 years back, in the month of first week of March, we had a variety of newspapers and magazines writing about this research about Indian cuisine and how Indian cuisine has been shown to be scientifically unique and different from the rest of the world cuisines, especially the Western cuisines. And these are some of the clips which were published 10 years back. And for me, it is the right occasion to talk about it because it's for me a nostalgic moment to think about that time and wonder about how it has happened in the last 10 years, incidentally. In fact, it was trending #1 on Twitter. I still remember sitting in front of my laptop, and my laptop was clickering fast, telling me about every moment mention was made about our research, and I was thinking about what's going on exactly. And this came by none other than the National Public Radio, USA.
Good morning, Everyday Montaigne. From masala to tandoori, Indian cuisine is exquisite. And now an epic study of recipes by the Indian Institute of Technology, Jodhpur, explains why, which is Indian dishes contain a little bit of everything and especially unlight flavors. Researchers found less flavor overlap in Indian recipes than other cuisines. So bring on the cayenne, coconut, and onion and get ready for a really delicious experience. It's Morning Edition.
So imagine this being talked across the whole of America from the National Public Radio. And you must have heard this name at IIT Jodhpur. Trust me, soon after that, I moved to IIIT-Delhi. And 10 years, it has been IIIT-Delhi, which has been the host and some institute which has been giving support and growing this area for a decade altogether. Having said that, we didn't stop at that. One of the things that I mentioned was perseverance. Having got visibility and publicity that we got 10 years back, we could have stopped there. However, we went ahead, collected the data of recipes from across the global cuisines, did the culinary fingerprinting of those, looked at their relationship. How are they related to each other? Like a language tree, wherein you know how languages are related to each other by phonetics and structure and grammatically. We figured out how they are closely related or distantly related to each other and came up with this world cuisine tree, which talked about how they are associated. And going forward, this is a summary of 10 years research which has happened in various domains, right from natural language processing, data creation, computer vision, algorithm building, application building, using large language models for creating new recipes, and you name it, and we have done it in various aspects of gastronomy. And this is just a snapshot of what we have done. Having told you about all of this, there are 3 reasons I strongly believe food is well poised to be seen from the perspective of data and through the lens of data. And one of them is that food is essential to our own existence as Homo sapiens. As in the discussions as it came out, it's an emotional topic for us, something that we can't steer away from, which we are intensely integrated with. So therefore, talking about food, rather not talking about food through the lens of data in 21st century is a cardinal sin, in my opinion. And that is what computational gastronomy tries to achieve. And the second reason is the health. We are sitting on the time bomb of type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disorder, and other lifestyle disorders. And diet is a critical component of it. And this is where I strongly believe we need to see food again as a computational topic rather than an emotional topic only. And finally, sustainability. I do not know why Elon Musk wants to go to Mars. And most of the movies that we have seen of apocalypse from Hollywood talk about how the world is going to end. And how is it going to end? Because of alien attack or some severe natural calamity. But most probably, if the world is going to end, it is going to end because of lack of food, which is available for 10 billion population, which is what we are anticipating by 2050. And this is where I believe that this is an apt topic to be explored, investigated, as a computational topic. And a lot of practitioners have been appreciative of our research, and over a period of time they have been talking about it, looking at our work, like the Lacada Blue, which has now cooked recipes from which are made by Ratatouille, and you'll be tasting them. How many of you are already excited about tasting AI recipes? How many of you are scared of tasting AI recipes? Something, ours might happen. We have an audience, somebody who is saying that I don't know whether I really want to try it out or not, but we are going to thrust it down your throat. We are going to use you as a guinea pig probably to taste our food. Okay, so yes, we have had fantastic moments where we have had our own share of glory, where many various magazines like Flight from France to India have talked about us. But the topic which will be talked in intense detail by LCB people, and in fact in an experiential manner, will be AI generated recipes. I still remember 2016, by the end of 2016, there was a competition which I participated, science communication competition, where I talked about how we will have an algorithm which will generate tasty and healthy recipes. I was thrashed like crazy, and they thought I am actually talking about science fiction. But within years, I know that we already are aware of how the chat GPTs of the world and ratatouilles of the world are cooking recipes literally out of AI driven approaches. So it's already happening and people are trying it out, and the day is not too far where AI will be at the forefront of generating recipes as well. And it is nothing new to us, by the way. All of us have already given up to the fact that computers will beat human beings at chess, have we or not? But 1998, had we said that, it wouldn't have been accepted at all. Nobody would have believed that Garry Kasparov will be beaten by a computer. But then Deep Blue indeed ended up beating Garry Kasparov. It extended in 2017 to the game of Go. AlphaGo came into existence. And similarly, other domains of creativity, human creativity, such as poetry, painting, music, are being slowly, quote unquote, taken over by AI. Now, some of us may not want to believe in it, because some of us still believe that there is a human creativity angle which can never be taken over by machines or algorithms. But at the same time, cooking remains, if at all there is any domain, cooking remains one of the ultimate domains of human creativity, which is needed to be understood from the perspective of artificial intelligence. And that is because it is multisensorial. Each of the domain that we talked about earlier, such as poetry, painting or music, talks about compositional creativity, visual creativity, auditory creativity. But cooking is about composition, visual, olfactory, gustatory, tactile. It's multisensory. Every chef can vouch for that, right? Therefore, to be able to say that AI will be able to take over that domain is extremely challenging. But nonetheless, the number of recipes that can be cooked is so large. It is more than the estimated number of stars that are there in the whole universe. And therefore, algorithms will be asked this question: can you actually cook a recipe? Can a machine think like a recipe, a chef, and generate new recipe? And that's a question we are asking for a while now. Following Alan Turing, who asked a question, can a machine think? We are asking, can a machine think like a chef? And that's where Ratatouille comes into picture, a fond name that we have integrated into the name of our algorithm, which generates recipes, variants of the recipes, not just recipes, plain recipes, but recipes which are made for the purpose of optimizing nutrition, the macros and the micros, for making it healthier, for making it tastier. And we are evaluating these recipes, and we have already tasted out these recipes partially, and organizations such as LCB are helping us taking it one notch further, literally cooking it the recipe, doing a blind test which you will be all participating in. So barring for those who are averse to tasting AI based recipes, get excited, because now you will be given very shortly after the next session will be given, next talk will be given recipes which you want to taste it out. And these recipes can do wonders, including creating dietary recommendations meant for specific disorders, lifestyle disorders, allergies, and many others. And we are moving in a direction where personalized nutrition will eventually will be possible, and we should be able to have apps which can give us advice about what to eat, what not to eat in a given day, and create new recipes, including those of mocktails and cocktails as well, which is an eminent possibility. So eventually, the question that was also asked by previous speaker is that about, can AI ever replace a chef? And the answer to that probably is AI would never replace a chef, but a chef using AI will be replacing a chef not using AI. It's an enabler. And that's what eventually we are moving in that direction. The other direction that we have been working on, the posters of which are already hanging out, so please have a look at those, is to look at a molecule and predicting its taste, whether it is salty, bitter, sour, umami, whether it is allergenic or whether it is toxic or not. We have been working on that direction. We have been collecting the data of health associations under the name of Dietetics. We have been creating carbon footprints related data. All of these are, as I mentioned in the beginning, are critical dimensions of food. And eventually, to conclude, all of this has led to creation of the startup. In the month of May, we finally incorporated a startup called Foodoscope Technologies Private Limited, which will be presented by my research interns very soon after this. And this particular startup looks at food and different dimensions of food through the lens of data, collects the data, makes them available as APIs. So we have Recipe DB, Flavor DB, Sustainable Food DB, and Dietetics, which are right now being made available via under the hood of Foodoscope Technologies, which has multiple features which most of the databases, if there are any available, do not have. Which is, it is actively maintained by us. It's extremely normalized and curated, scientifically validated because we have published papers out of them, and it is rich, multi-layered, will be added with more data as we go along. And there are fantastic applications that we foresee, including that of fitness apps, smart kitchens, grocery apps, health and medicine apps. All of these are possibilities that are coming out of it, including restaurant and food services, which can benefit out of the APIs. I understand that chefs among you may not understand or appreciate how APIs can be used, but the technocrats understand how to use these API for building tools out of it. So to conclude, I must tell you also, which some of you may not know, many of you know, is that I started my journey as a physicist, not as a gastronomer, and somebody who as a teenager aspired to be an astronomer. So it has been a long journey for me from astronomy to gastronomy, a long journey nonetheless. It has taken decades for me to reach here, from being somebody who has not been at all interested in food to becoming a food connoisseur. It's been some journey for me, and this journey has been through physics, quantum mechanics, special theory of relativity, networks, biological networks, all the way up to gastronomy is where I have reached today. And this journey and adventure is being written and will be published very soon in a book tentatively titled Digitally Delicious. I always like to end with this quote by Brilla Savarin, the author of the book Physiology of Taste, who wrote in this book, that the discovery of a new dish confers more happiness on humanity than the discovery of a new star. I had read this quote, by the way, as a master's student who was doing his master's thesis along with a professor in an institute called Indian Institute Inter-University Center for Astronomy and Astrophysics, IUCA, in Pune, where in the canteen, the astronomers and astrophysicists had very humbly hung this quote about how discovering new dishes makes life more better than discovering new stars. So while I could not discover new stars, looks like I'm on the path of discovering new dishes along with all of you to make humanity happier and healthier. With that, I would like to stop and would like to start with a new session. So thank you for listening patiently.